So this is in the form of point slope, which is y minus y1 equals m. Huh? Sorry, I had it zoomed in for the, there you go. Y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1. Okay? So m is the quick thing that we can find here. This is my what? No. This is point slope form. It's going to be on your test tomorrow or Friday. So
y equals mx plus b, what would the m be?
That's my slope. M is the slope. So what's the slope here? 9/4. Now my point comes from my x1, y1. On this one I want you to notice I have a negative here and a positive here, right? Negative here, positive here, negative here, positive here. How could I end up with a negative or a positive here if this is supposed to be a negative? What would x1 have to be? What's in the place of x1? A 9, but it's supposed to be a negative in the formula. How could it end up positive? And if instead it was 9, it was negative 9, right? So x1 is equal to negative 9. What's y1? Negative 1 also, or it's a negative also because it was supposed to be a negative and it came out positive. So if in the formula it says negative or minus 1, it's just 1. Everybody understand? So basically it's the opposite of whatever it shows here. With me on that? So my point is x1, y1, comma in there. So what is my point that this goes through? Very good. Okay, so now do as it says. Circle the slope in red. Circle the value that shows the x-coordinate in blue. Circle the value for the y-coordinate in green. Then use your finger to write the point as an ordered pair. 9 of 12, let's go. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. I have red around the 8/5, green around the 5, blue around the 7, and I have a positive 7 and a negative 5. The sign should be opposite of what you see. Good job. Oh, we got fancy here, boxing them in. Okay. However, this should be a comma, not a period. And this 5, oh, wait a second. Maybe this was, oh, this, whenever you circled this, it's actually a positive, so it looks like a negative to me. Sorry. So it should be a double, it should be negative here. This was a plus sign, which after you circled it, you maybe didn't notice that yourself, okay? So it should be negative 7, negative, or negative 5, negative 7. Nope, negative 7, negative 5. I'm sorry, I've got too many things going on right now. Okay, so this one, this wouldn't be correct if you were typing this in on a test. This is wrong. It should be a negative 5 here, okay? This person didn't follow directions. No ordered pair. Negative 7, negative 5. Poor writing, but got the job done. This one should be a negative 7. Everybody understands why, right? It's the opposite of what you see. All right, moving on. All right, so right now, we're not even going to talk about this. Circle the box and whisker plot with the greater median. The greater median. This has got to be a give me point question. However, historically, we forget, so that's why we're talking about it here. Okay? This has to be a give me points question. So circle one quickly. Should be able to just look and circle. It doesn't take literally any thought. Look, circle, and then we'll talk about it. So if you're not sure, give me a good guess. It's okay to get it wrong. You're not getting points on this right now. This is just to see where we are at. Okay. So the median, folks, is the middle. What's this out at the middle? 8. What's this one out at the middle? So which one has the greater median? Data set 2. Okay, let's see. For the most part, we actually did pretty good on that. Just a couple, 3 people. That's not bad, not bad. All right, so this one says tell whether, whoops, sorry. Tell whether the data set shows direct variation. So I'm going to put this on the other thing so I can write on it. Okay, so direct variation looks like what? It is. Good job. It's y equals kx. So what does this column represent? And this one? Y. So if I want to know what k is, how would I get k by itself in this equation? Divide by x on both sides. So I could find k by saying y divided by x. So if this is direct variation, when I take this column divided by this column, I should get the same value every single time. So what is 6 divided by 3? 2. What is 10 divided by 5? What is 12 divided by 6? What is 27 divided by 9? 3. Are these the same all the way? I don't even have to do the last one. If they don't match, it is not direct variation. Okay? So, whoops, that's not what I wanted. Here we go. Determine whether or not the data set shows direct variation. This should be a multiple choice. It either is or it isn't. You know how to check it. Y divided by x. Make sure you're writing some of this stuff down. These questions directly correlate to what's on your review. Okay, so write down some notes so that you know what's going on that review. Use it as an example. It doesn't match all the way through. Somebody tell me what you got. Okay, whoops. What did we get when you divided this? This? Immediately you know, not direct variation. Good job. Okay, solve this system. You can solve this using any method you want. It's really set up best to solve by substitution. I'm going to do it by graphing and substitution so you have an example of both. All right, so to solve it by graphing, this one is already y by itself, right? I could graph this as is. What do I start with? 3, negative 3 on the x-axis, y-axis, how about? Because we want it to be here, right? My beginning point is always y, so 1, 2, 3 here. What's my slope of this equation? I heard somebody say it, I thought.
Somebody said x.
No, I heard something before that. 1 over 1. X is never part of the slope. That's something that on the EOC, on your evaluate, if they're having you identify the slope, X is never part of the slope. And that's a common mistake, so make sure we're not choosing it at all. Even if you say it's 1x, it's wrong because x isn't part of it. So it's 1 over 1. So what am I going to do with that 1 over 1? Up 1, run 1, right? Up 1, run 1, right? Blah, 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 all the way through. Okay, I could have also gone the opposite, which would have been down 1, left 1, right? All right, so I want to get this one in slope-intercept form. How do I do it? Okay, how? Subtract 5x from both sides. Whenever I do this, I'm going to bring my answer down here. I have y equals negative 5x plus 3. Okay. I'm going to change my color here, though. So where am I going to start this one at? Positive 3 on the y. 1, 2, 3, right here. Down 5, and where? Right 1. I have a point that meets up immediately. Okay, do you see that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, not down far enough. 1, 2, nope, here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right 1. Okay, so I would have a line that's like this. That's straight, though. And one that's like this. That's a little better. And this is my solution. What is this solution? 1, negative 2. Very good. Okay, right 1, down 2. Okay, the other way we can solve this is by substitution. And I could solve it by substitution by saying if y is equal to this,
so would you put that up there where the y's at?
right, so I'm going to rewrite it as 5x plus, instead of y, I'm going to put
X minus 3.
is equal to 3. Okay?
Notice how she put it in parentheses.
Because what's out here? Understood? 1. So I'm going to distribute my positive 1 to everything. So 5x comes straight down. 1 times x is x. Or 1x. I heard that too. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3 equals 3. Now what?
You combine like terms, so it'll be 6x.
So I'm going to put these two together. I have 6x minus 3 equals 3.
Then we'll
Add 3 to both sides. 6x equals 6.
divide the 6, the other 6, x equals 1.
X is equal to 1. Is that what we said?
Yep.
Okay, I can solve for y really easy now by saying x is 1. So what's y equal to? Negative 2. Okay. Now, on your own. I'm going to give you 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then we're going to move on. You got to go quick. We're going to run out of time. On this, let's see what we've got shown here. I've got somebody who's trying to graph. That's good. Somebody else that's graphed. That's good. We've got one good graph line. We have a solution, though. How do we have a solution already? Oh, did you do it on your paper? That's probably why. Yep, that's fine. So you graphed by substitution. So I went ahead and started this over here. When I graphed it, I graphed my first one in purple. So I didn't draw the line, but you can see my dots there, hopefully. And then in red, I subtracted 2x from both sides, and I graphed it. So I could see my solution was 1, 6. The other option is to do it by substitution. So if y is equal to x plus 5, plug it in here. And then we're going to do the same process as before. Distribute this 1. So I have 2x plus x plus 5 equals 8. Combine like terms, I get 3x plus 5 equals 8. Subtract 5 from both sides, I have 3x equals 3. So x is equal to 1. And then just plug it in here. 1 plus 5 gave us that 6. Whoops, wrong thing. Going back and forth here. Okay. Okay, this one is not set up to solve by substitution easily. What is this one set up to solve by? Anybody know? The one that I would say we probably use the least due to comfortability.
And I like it.
I do too. I think it's really fast and easy. So, on this one, it's set up to solve by elimination. I can eliminate these x's if they are opposites. I heard it over here. What? Oh, I thought I heard you say it. Not by 2, but by negative 2, because I want them to cancel out. So they have to be opposites. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing by negative 2. And technically I'm doing this, okay, but I don't care how you show it. Yeah, I don't care. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute everything. So negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times 3y is negative 6y. Equals 0 times negative 2 is 0. So I'm done with this. I'm going to scratch it out so I don't get confused by it. Now, I'm just going to add this like it's a normal math problem, like it's a kindergarten, first grade math problem. So 2 minus 2x gives me 0. 4y minus 6y gives me equals 4 plus 0, or minus 0, gives me 4. How do I get y by itself? Divide by negative 2 on both sides. So y is equal to negative 2. Now that I know what y is equal to, I can plug it into an original. Which one you want to plug it into? The bottom one, that's fine. So I'm going to plug it in right here. So I have 2x plus 4 times negative 2 equals 4. What should I do first? Multiply 4 and negative 2. So I have 2x minus 8. I was getting ready to write 6. Thank you for stopping me. Then what? Add 8 to both sides. So I have 2x equals 12. Good. So x is equal to 6. What's my solution? 6, negative 2. This is how your answer should be. So, on your own. Again, so let's see what we've got. We've got 3 people who've answered. 6, 2, 6, 2, and negative 3, 5. So it looks like 6, 2 is looking like a good possibility. Let's see here. I went ahead and I multiplied the bottom equation by negative 2 so that my x's would cancel. However, you could have instead multiplied the top equation by what? Negative 3, and your y's would cancel. Either one is perfectly acceptable. You just have to cancel one of them. They have to be opposites. So, what happens now? Okay, so what's this give me? And this? Negative 10. So, y equals 2. Plug it in here. Solve it. Okay? For the sake of time, we're going to keep moving, though. Multiply. Oh, yeesh. These should be give me points problems, too. So, whenever I see it written like this, we do have a rule for it. I don't care if you use the rule. What can you do always with these? You're right. That's a good guess. So, I have g plus h times g plus h. First times first gives me outside times outside gives me?
And don't forget to put your plus or minus in, guys.
Yep. Inside times inside?
H times G.
Which is the same thing as GH, right? Since they're like terms, I want to show them so that my brain's going to recognize that. Okay, plus,
H to the second.
right? Now what?
Like terms of G2 plus GH to the second.
Oh.
Or 2GH,
2GH, right, because this is 1 and 1. Whenever I'm adding, I just add the coefficient. So 2GH plus h squared. This is my final answer here. Okay? Oh, suck it up, Buttercup. Okay, on your own then. I'm not giving you that long. I'm giving you 60 seconds this time. Okay, for the sake of time, we're moving on here. Let's see what we've got. W squared plus 2wx plus x squared. True, 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 true. Very good. Very, very good. Good job, guys. All right, on this one, factoring. We've been working on this for a little while now, folks. So we've got to know what we're doing here. This is the easy factoring. Quick, easy factoring. And sometimes after we do the more complicated stuff, the easy stuff gets harder because we forget that it can be easy. We're just looking for two things that multiply to get 35 and add to get 12. So 35 is 1 and 35 or 5 and 7. How can I get a 12? 5 and 7. So I break it straight into the parentheses, split up my a squared to a times a. These are both positive, so these are both positive. 5 and 7 goes in here. Done.
That's not 5 and 5.
Oh, geez. I said the right thing. I wrote the wrong thing. Do as I say, not as I do. To write an equation that passes through 4, 6 and is parallel to y equals 4x plus 4. Okay? All right, so what we're going to do, first of all, is we need to decide what it means to be parallel. What does it mean to be parallel? Okay, what's exactly the same? Talking about a line, what's equal? I'm talking about the equation here, folks. If I'm talking about this equation, what has to be exactly the same for them to be parallel? Okay, so if we're writing an equation, it is y equals mx plus b. For two equations to be parallel, what part of them have to be exactly the same? No, the slope. The slope has to be exactly the same. So parallel lines, m is equal. If they are perpendicular, if it asks you for that instead, you want m to be not to be equal to. I want m and the opposite reciprocal of m. Okay? So parallel they're exactly the same. Perpendicular, you change the sign and you flip it. Okay? So, in this equation, what's the slope? Just 4. X is never part of the slope. So, this is my slope. So, I have a point, I have a slope. There is a formula for using the point and the slope. Anybody know what that is? What?
4 times 4.
No. Point, slope, formula. Okay? Point slope formula is y minus y sub 1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x sub 1. Okay? So, I know the m has to be 4. So, I'm going to plug it in. X is here. The negative is part of it. Equals y is here. Negative is part of it. What's x1 and what's y1?
X1 is 4.
Y1 is?
6.
Right. This is xy, right? This is my point 1. So, x1, y1. So, x1 is 4. Y1 is 6. I plug it in exactly as they are. So if these were negative, I would have put an extra negative in there. So now, my goal is to get y by itself because I need to write the equation. So what can I do to simplify this? I'm going to distribute the 4. So I have y equals oh my goodness. Y minus 6 equals 4x minus 16. Now what? Add the 6 to both sides to like terms. So I have y equals
4x negative 10.
This is my final answer. So now, on your own, you have 90 seconds. Record that. Okay, so I'm going to talk about it again here. Okay, so m was my negative 3. It has to be exactly the same. My y1 was 0, y2, or excuse me, x2, oh my gosh, x1 is 2, 0 just goes away, so I distributed, double sign gave me a negative, so we had one answer that had a negative 6, it needs to be positive 6, careful about those signs. However, on a test, if you enter a negative 6 instead of a positive 6, you're probably getting 75% of the points possible on that, so you probably get a 0.75, okay? All right. Factor. We've been working on these quite a bit here recently. So, whenever I factor and I have a lead coefficient other than 1, in this case it's 5, what do I have to do? Okay, so let's see. Can we take anything out of all 3 of these? Can we divide? No, I can't. So what's my next option? Numbers. A times absolute value of C. Okay? So what's A in this case? 5 times the absolute value of 10, which is just going to give me 50. So I need to do what with 50?
Distribute it out.
No. I'm going to write the factor pairs. So 1 and 5.
2 and 30.
No.
No, 2 and 40.
No.
2 and 25.
2 and 25. What else?
5 and 10.
5 and 10. Okay, can I get a 27 from any of those?
Yeah.
What?
2 and 25.
2 and 25. So I'm going to take this 2 and 25 and I'm going to split this 27 into 2 terms. So I have 5x squared. How am I going to write this 27x instead?
2x.
Plus 2x. I'm almost. Plus 25x. Bring down my 10. Now what, Elizabeth? I need to group. Factor by grouping. So I'm going to group the first 2. Group the last 2. I'm going to leave my addition sign in between because I'm not multiplying them. Okay. What can I factor out of both of these? X, 1x. Leaving me with?
5x plus 2.
Plus 2. So I just took 1x out of both of those. Everybody see that? Plus, what can I take out of both of these?
5.
If I divide these by 5, what am I left with?
5 and 2.
Not 5. 5x, right?
5x
Plus 2.
plus 2.
All right, so now I'm looking at this and this.
So you bring
comes out. So I have 5x plus 2,
And then x plus 5.
x plus 5. Final answer. Okay, so on your own, you have 90 seconds. Go.
3.
3
15,
times what?
40, 15.
15.
45.
45. So my goal, I have to be careful on this one, okay? The signs are tricky. This is a positive, and I'm multiplying to get a positive. To multiply to get a positive, I have to have
Negative.
double negative or a double positive, right?
Yeah.
If I'm adding to get this negative, which of these do I need? Double negative, okay? So keep that in mind. So what multiplies to get 45? 1 and 45.
2. No, I mean 3 and 15. 5 and 5 and 9.
How can I get a 14?
Negative 5.
Okay, so I'm going to write that in here. Negative 5, negative 9. So I'm going to write this negative 14x as two terms. So I have 3x squared. What am I going to write? Minus 5x. Nah.
Negative 3x.
Minus what? These two right here.
Negative 9.
Right, so I'm just using these two. 9x plus 15. Now, Elizabeth? Parentheses. So I'm going to group the first two. I'm going to put a plus sign and group the last two. Anytime it's negative, I got to take the negative with it. So what can I factor out of both of these? X, leaving me with 3x minus 5. What can I factor out of both of these?
3, 9.
Okay, 3 is correct. I have to take the negative anytime it's in the front. So I have negative 3, leaving me with 3x minus 5. If I don't have the exact same thing here, I have made a mistake. I do, though. So I'm going to say 3x minus 5. And what's that leave me with? X minus 3.
I did it back.
Final answer. So we were really close. That's good. We haven't done it a whole lot to be superstars at it yet. So that's all right. All right. On this one, solve the inequality and graph it. So first thing I want to do is solve this. So to solve it, what should I do first?
Distribute.
Okay, so I can distribute. So I'm going to bring down my 6 is less than or equal to, what's this give me? 6x plus 18 is less than or equal to 36. Now what? My goal is to get this x
Plus 8 on both sides.
by itself.
Plus 18 on both sides. Minus 18 on both sides.
Okay, so I'm going to start moving things across these inequality signs, right? So I'm just going to show myself these little dashed lines to give me a visual reminder of where I'm moving things. So I want to move this 18
Minus 18 on both sides.
on every side.
Yeah.
Okay? So 6 minus 18 is,
Negative 12. Negative.
which is less than or equal to 6x, which is less than or equal to, what's this?
18.
18. Okay, now what?
You divide by 6.
Divide by 6 on both sides. So I have negative 12 divided by 6 is,
Negative 2
which is
equal to
less than or equal to,
less than or equal to x
which is,
less than or equal to 3.
okay, so now whenever I graph this, I have two things I'm really graphing, okay? I have this one, which is the easy thing to see because it's in the right order already. And then I have this one. How do I want to write the part that I've boxed off in green so I can graph it the right? Very good. I want to flip the whole thing around so I can graph it appropriately. So I have 0, -1, -2, 1, 2, and 3. So at this -2, am I going to have an open point or a closed point? Closed because it has the line underneath. In which way should I shade?
To the right.
To the right. So I'm going to shade this direction. And for the blue, at 3, what am I going to have? Open or closed? Closed because it has the point underneath. In which way should I shade? To the left. So I'm shading in between these two, right? Everybody sees that? Okay, so on your own, you have 90 seconds. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. I have a dot over here at 8. I have closed at 3, closed at 2, and in between. I have between -3 and -1, it looks like. -3 and 2, -3 and 2, -3 and 2, all right. So I'm going to start by solving this. What should I do first? Distribute.
6x
So I have -16 is less than or equal to 6x,
plus 2.
which is less than or equal to 14.
Minus 2 on both sides.
So I'm going to subtract 2 from everywhere. So this will cancel. This gives me
-18.
is less than or equal to,
6x.
which is less than or equal to.
-12.
So now what?
Divided by 6.
Divide by 6 on both, on every side,
You get -3.
is less than or equal to,
X.
which is less than or equal to.
2.
So this one's good. What's the other one I'm graphing?
It's x greater than or equal to 3. -3.
Okay, so at -3, open or closed?
Close.
Closed, shaded to the
Right.
right, and at 2, open or closed?
Close.
Shaded to the,
Left.
so shaded between. So a lot of us had that one right. Good job. Yeah. Okay, on this one, it says write the polynomial in standard form, then give the leading coefficient. This is a give me points question. You've got to get this baby right. There's no reason to miss it. Okay? So, to write it in standard form, does anybody remember what that means? Standard form. All polynomials are written in standard form if they are written in what order? The same order? No, well, kind of. The same definition of order. What should come first? If you're looking at this polynomial, what would you think comes first here? X squared? Okay, I want you to look at this. I have x to the third, x to the fourth, x to the second, x to the fifth, no x. What do you think would come first? X to the fifth. It's always the biggest exponent comes first. So I'm going to take this whole term, which is a positive 6x to the fifth. That comes first. Now what? 8. It's positive. 8x to the fourth. Now what? I have 5, 4. Right? Now what?
12x.
X.
No, x squared.
Okay.
Plus 12x
Mm-hmm.
plus 1.
So the leading coefficient, anybody know what that is here? What's in the very front?
6x.
Okay, so I hear 6x to the fifth. That's the entire term. I don't want the whole term. I just want the coefficient.
No.
It's the 6. A coefficient is a numerical factor. That means it is a number. A number that's being multiplied by a variable. So, in this case, 6 is the leading coefficient. Positive 6, just 6. So,
That is good.
that is good. Yeah, get these right. Okay, so I'm going to give you like 30 seconds. Go.
No. 5x.
I want the biggest exponent first. So, x to the fifth comes first. Then, what's my next biggest exponent?
Plus 5x4.
Okay, next. Next.
Plus 11x to the second.
Okay.
Minus 2x.
All right, now this one, what's your lead coefficient?
X.
Is x a number?
5.
It would be 1. There's an understood 1 out here in front, okay? So, what? Oh, now don't lie. Okay, on this one, simplify. We've been working on these for a while, so we should be getting them right. How do I simplify this? What do I have to do?
That one is 50.
It's not 50. What do I have to do?
You have to, not factor.
Say it, yep. Factor tree. So what's this split into?
100.
100 and 5. 5 is a prime. 100 splits into
50.
50 and not 50. 2. 50 splits into 5 and 10. 5 is a prime. 10 splits into 2 and 5. So now I'm going to write this as radical. What? I want 2 times 2. I want them to be in order. Just because it helps me see my doubles. So now what?
Times 5, times 5, times 5.
You take out
Your doubles.
Double 2 and
5.
so when I take those out,
2 and 5.
2 times 5 is outside. What's inside?
5.
5. This gives me
10.
10, radical 5. This is my final answer. So, on your own. So I'm going to factor tree it here. I have 8 and 100. 8 is 2 times 4. 2 and 2. 100. I can also just say this is 10 times 10. Right? Because those are that's a double. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So equals radical 2 times 2 times 2 times 10 times 10. Double 2's, double 10's come out. If you did it all the way down, you would have 5 2's and 2 5's, right?
Yeah.
So whenever I bring those out, I have 2 times 10. Radical 2 is left, so 20 radical 2. All right. All right, identify the excluded values. We have been talking about this in terms of asymptotes, but this is an old lesson. Okay? Does anybody remember how we determine excluded values? No? Where is the excluded value at? It has to do with x. It's where the denominator is equal to
The denominator.
0. That's right. So I'm going to say x plus 2 is equal to 0. So how do I get x by itself? Subtract 2. So x is equal to negative 2. Negative 2 is the excluded value. So technically for this, x cannot be equal to negative 2, or it's 0 in the denominator. Okay? So, on your own, quickly. This should take minimal effort here. Okay, so I have, everybody has said it's 1. That's correct. X minus 1 equal to 0. Add 1 to both sides. 1 is the excluded value. We need to come up with a system of equations for this scenario. So does anybody have any ideas on how we could start it? Diego, what do you think? Okay, that would be one thing, but it wants us to write a system of equations. So if it's wanting you to write a system of equations, that's part of the problem. Okay, that's part of the answer. So we have to come up with a system of equations. Using 2 variables, how could I do that? A 2-digit number. Kathleen?
You could do it
X plus y equals 8. So that's the first equation. That's absolutely correct. Okay, so the sum of the 2-digit number, the 2 digits, is 8. Now, the next equation is trickier. If the number is multiplied by 4, the result is 104. So that's like saying if the number was 26, When you multiply it by, oh my God, I just guessed the right answer. Okay, so if it was 26, it would be like saying you take 4 times 26 is equal to 104. Okay? So how can I write that using a system of equations?
4x equals 104.
Say it again.
4x equals 104.
Okay, so that's a good thought, except for this is like saying the number is xy. Not that they're being multiplied, but that this is some value and this is some value. Okay, this is the 2-digit number. It's written like this. So what place value is the x in? The tens place. What value is the y in? The 1. So I could say 4 times x is in the tens place plus y is in the ones place is equal to 104. Do you see what I'm saying there? Do you understand where I got it from? Nobody knows? Everybody knows? No responses? Doesn't tell me anything? You don't know? Okay, so what this is saying is x is in the tens place. So whatever this single digit is, for me to write this out, so say for example my number was, whoops, what the heck's going on? Say my number is 57. Whenever you were a little kid, probably in like 5th grade, you would break this down by the place value, and you would say 5 times 10 plus 7 times 1. Do you remember doing that? Expanded form, I believe is what they call it. Okay, so that's what this is saying. So you're taking 10 times whatever's in that tens place. Do you see what I mean? Yeah? Okay. So now all we have to do is solve this thing. So what would be the best method to solve this? Anyone? So you want to distribute first? Okay, so she wants to go ahead and simplify this out a little bit. So we have 40x, I put a 4. 40x plus 4y equals 104. So this is no longer one of the equations. Okay, so this is my system of equations. Now what? Why am I going to subtract 40? Which equation is going to be easier to get y by itself? The top one, right? I just want to get one of them with y by itself so that I can solve by substitution. So how can I get y by itself here? Subtract x from both sides. So what's this equation become? Negative x plus 8. Very good. So now that I know what y is, I'm just going to put it right here. So I have 40x plus 4 times the quantity of negative x plus 8 is equal to 104. So now I'm ready to solve. What should I do? Say it again. Distribute positive 4 to everything. So I have 40x minus 4x plus 32 equals 104. Now what? Like terms, so I have 40x minus 4x gives me 36x plus 32 equals 104. Now what? Subtract 32 from each side. So I have 36x is equal to 72. Now what? Divide by 36 on each side. So I have x is equal to 2. So if x is equal to 2, how can I find y? Plug it in. I'm just going to plug it in here. X was 2, right? So y is equal to negative 2 plus 8. So y is equal to 6. So find the number, we already said, was 26, right? So at this time, oh, is that the only one of those? Well, sad day. Okay, so next question. Tell whether the relationship is an inverse variation. Explain. So, what do we know about inverse variation? What do we know about it? Inverse variation. What's it look like? You have a test on Friday. I hope we can remember some of these things. Nobody has any idea? Y equals what? K over X. That is correct. So what's K equal to then? How can I get K by itself? Right, XY. So for me to determine if this is inverse variation, I'm just going to multiply each of these pairs. If it's exactly the same, what's that mean? If inverse. It's inverse variation. If when I multiply them and it's the same K all the way through, it's constant, that means that it is inverse variation. If it is not the exact same value on every single ordered pair, it is not inverse variation. So when I multiply these, what do I get? Click, click. What do you got? Got calculators. Use them. Okay, when I multiply these, what do I get? Right now, is this inverse variation? I don't even have to check the last one. These two don't match? It's not. No, K is not constant. So, on your own, figure it out. Oh, man. So when we multiply these, if they don't match, it is not inverse variation. So, that is not, oh, that was the right thing. Okay, so, Kelly has one quiz each week in math class. What a lucky girl. The table gives the probability of having a quiz each day of the week. What's the probability that Kelly will have a quiz Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday? Express your answer as a percent. If it tells you to express your answer in a certain way, please make sure that we are, in fact, doing that. So, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday, what do you think I should do? Add them, right? Okay, because the whole thing here should add up to be 100 because she has one a week. But all we're going to do is add these three. When I do that, what do I get? 68 point what? 0.68, okay. 0.68. Is this what I want, though? Why not? Not a percent. How do I make it a percent? Multiply by 100. That gives me 68%. This is your answer. All right. On your own. Oh, there we go. 82, 82. So these that do not have percentages, that's not a percent. This isn't a percent. If it says enter the percent, you need to enter the percent. Okay, make sure we're doing that. So all we had to do there was add the dates that they say. Tuesday plus Thursday plus Friday, multiply it by 100. All right, on this one, simplify the expression. And they give us radical 12b plus 4 radical 75b minus radical 27b. What do I have to do to simplify this? Say it again. Right, they have to be the same because I'm just trying to add and subtract like terms, right? So how can I do that? What can I do to these? Prime factorization, she says with a tone. How do I split this? 2 times 6. 2 is prime, 6 is not. 2 and 3. Okay, so this first one is radical 2 times 3 plus 4. What can I do here? 3 times 25. 3 is prime, 25 is not. 5 and 5. So this, oh, I forgot the b here, guys. Come on. Radical 3 times 5 times 5 times b minus, what about here? 9 and 3. 3 and 3. So I have radical 3 times 3 times 3 times b. Now what? Doubles can come out. So this comes out. This comes out. this comes out. Everybody agree with that? Hopefully. Okay, so whenever this double 2 comes out, it comes out as 2. Double 2's comes out as 1, 2 on the outside. What's left on the inside? 3b. Plus, whenever these 5's come out, with this 4, what happens? Multiply. So 4 times 5 is 20, radical 3b. Minus, these 3's come out as 3, radical. Now, do I have any like terms? What? All of them. So I'm just adding and subtracting the coefficients. So 2 plus 20 minus 3. I'm just working from left to right. 2 plus 20 is, minus 3 is 19. Radical 3b. This is my final answer. So, on your own, you have 90 seconds. All right, so we have 24 radical 5y. I want you to make sure that your radical extends over the y if it's included. It doesn't look like it's included right now. Okay? Looks good. Looks good. 4, 24, 25, 4. Okay, so we all agree that it should be 5y underneath, but we have some variations in what should be on the outside. Okay?
I didn't get to finish. I put 3 instead of 2.
Okay, so somebody raise your hand and tell me what this first radical looks like as the prime factorization. Emily.
2 times 2 times 5 times y.
Good. Plus the next one, Kathleen.
5 radical 5.
Nope, as the prime factor. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm with you. Okay, go ahead.
5 times 5 times 5.
Yeah. Minus the next one, Chandler.
3 times 3 times 5 times y.
Okay, so doubles come out. Double 2's out here. Double 5's out here. Double 3's out here. So here, this one, the double 2 comes out as 2 on the outside. 5 radical y. I said the wrong thing, but you know what I meant, right? Radical 5y. Plus, this 5 comes out with this one, so it should be 5 times this 5 is 25. Radical 5y. Minus double 3 comes out as a 3 on the outside. 5y. Now we have like terms. And it's just a matter of adding and subtracting the coefficients. So this gives me 27 minus 3 is in fact 24 radical 5y. Okay. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. All right. So on this one, list the data values. We've had this show up on a test already. Hit the wrong button again. And I want to be clear that you need to follow the directions on the Google form when it tells you what to do. So, where's it at? Did not show up. Why is it not automatically opening? Okay. So whenever you are listing the values, I want to remind you stems are the tens place. And leaves are the ones place, and that they should be in order. You should have a comma between every value. And if this was on a Google form, I would probably say no spaces. So just string them together, even though it looks funny, it's fine. If you put a space in there, then it counts it wrong. Then I have to go through and check every one of your values. That's annoying, just so we're clear on that. So 10, 16, 18 is the first line. What's the second line?
50, 55, 49.
Next line?
78.
Oh my gosh, hold on, sorry. Okay, 78. Next line?
82.
Okay. So at this time, that's right. Glad you can see the pattern. It's a good math skill. Okay, so looking at this, Looks pretty good. I want to make sure that I also reiterate that if it shows up twice, you have to list it twice. Okay, looks good. All right, on this one, solve. Why is it not? All right, so what would I do first to solve this equation? Say what? The thingy thing. I want the absolute value bars completely by themselves first. How can I make that happen? What's happening between the absolute value and the 3? So what's the opposite? I need to divide by 3. So I'm going to divide by 3 on each side. So I have the absolute value of z plus 4 equals 12. Close. Okay, so what do I need to do at this point? I do need to get z by itself, but before I do that, okay, I can't just drop them. I have to do something when I drop them.
Change the values.
I want you to think about this. It says the absolute value is equal to 12. What values give you an absolute value of 12? 12 and negative 12. So when I have this, I have to write those two equations. So I have z plus 4 equals 12. And I have z plus 4 equals a negative 12. Also, some of your handwriting, you could afford to put the little slash through your z so they don't look like you're terrible twos. But whatever. Okay, so how do I get it by itself here? Subtract 4 here. So I have z is equal to 8 over here. Subtract 4 gives me negative 16. So whenever I have this solution, I can say z is equal to, and I'm going to write it as a set, is negative 16, 8. With the squigglies. That's how you say it. Okay? It's a set of solutions. With me on that? All right. So, now, as the pattern goes, do it on your own. Let's look at this. We have a few discrepancies. What's the first thing that we should do here? Divided by 2 on both sides. So I am left with the absolute value of z plus 5 is equal to 6. What should I do next?
Z plus 5 equals 6, and then z plus 5 is negative 6.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so subtract 5 from each side. When I do that, I'm left with z is equal to 1 and z is equal to negative 11. So z is equal to the set negative 11 and 1. This is not an ordered pair, just so we're clear on that. This is a list. It's a set. Okay. Okay, on this one it says, the table compares the average driving speed of a car to the distance the car can travel on 1 tank of gas. Use the given data to make a scatter plot. Describe the correlation. Okay. So, let's see here. Okay, so if I'm going to use this to make a scatter plot, I'm going to first start by putting my axes. Okay. Whenever I do this, I'm looking at this table. Which value is x and which value is y? Right. X is on the left, y is on the right. Okay. So what value should I use for my x's here across the bottom? Go by tens, okay. So 10, 20, 30, 40. So what about for my y-axis? Yeah, 50 would probably be a good option. 51, 52, 53, 54, 50. That should cover everything. So 50, 150, 250, 350, 450. Okay. Just so that my points are somewhat lined up. I struggle with my tablet sometimes. Okay, so the first one is at 2350. So I'm going to go over to 20, up to 350. There's my point. Next one is at 19,340. So a little less and a little less. Next one's at 32,420. So a little more than 32, about halfway between 400 and 450. Next one's 29,380. So a little less than 30 and a little under that 400 mark. And finally 10,170. So 10 and about here. So what kind of correlation would you say this has? Emily says positive. Anybody else?
Is there a thing as no correlation?
There is a such thing as no correlation. Do you think this has no correlation? Or are you just asking?
No, I'm just asking.
Okay. So, anybody else? Positive, negative, no correlation. Negative. If I had to draw a line that went through as many of these points as possible, I would draw it like this. Would you agree with that line of best fit? What kind of slope does that line have? Positive. Okay. A no correlation would be if I had something and it was just kind of like all over the place. I can't draw a line of best fit for these points, right? A negative would be if I have something like this. I could draw a line through here. Do you see that? So this is negative, this is positive, and this one over here is no correlation. On your own. Okay, so everyone agrees it's a positive correlation, it looks like. Good job. Okay, so